Yeah, see, it'd be a shame if something were to happen to your democracy. Yeah, that's basically the gist of this article. And by the way, it dovetails in, link in the description, archived, of course. It dovetails in with something I'm going to be discussing on my New Tech exclusive today. By the way, you should be following me on some permutation of BitChute, Rumble, Minds, or Odyssey. Links in the description. Because I make exclusive content every single day, more or less there. And also I stream on Rumble. If BitChute gets streaming, I'll stream there. I might bring back streaming on Odyssey. So I'm going to be a busy man over the end of the year, especially during midterms. I've decided there will definitely be a triple stream there regardless. Right now, with inflation, for example, you see a preemptive shenanigan going on with the Democrats. I'll touch on it briefly and flesh it out in the New Tech exclusive. Inflation that at first was rumored not to exist became transitory. Then it was the fault of the previous administration. Then it was briefly Russia's fault. And now they're saying, well, yeah, really, inflation is a problem. A year and a half into the cycle, by the way. Inflation's a big problem, but the GOP doesn't have a plan to manage it. They're not putting forth any platform to tackle inflation as though the current administration is. They're going to try to blame the Republicans for the economic collapse coming next year. That's the long story short. This article ties in with that. And it talks about the degradation of democracy if the GOP wins. The allure of the Republicans is a confusing thing. Voters are being charmed by the Republicans. We're not exactly sure why. From our penthouses and ivory castles, we're not sure why people could possibly vote for the other party when the one currently holding the House, the Senate, and the presidency has presided over mass inflation, a reduction in actual earnings for Americans, runaway problems with regards to lockdownerism, foreign diplomacy, the U.S. border, crime, pretty much anything that can go wrong other than outright stagflation with rising unemployment is currently going wrong. There is nothing going right now at the federal level in the United States. Notably absent from some of the pain are some of the places that are run by supposed election-denying far-right MAGA extremists, like states like Florida, states like Texas, where the incumbents are going to soar to re-election, in some cases by double digits. I wonder why Oregon's gubernatorial slot suddenly looks like it's competitive. The fact that Whitmer can't even clinch and is still tied in a couple of the recent polls should give the Dems an indicator people are fed up. And it's really mostly about the economy. The idea of this particular article is that the GOP is extremist now. Most of the incoming Republicans, this part's true, are MAGA. I would say that's the opposite of extremism. I look at that versus neocons and I say, other than the Jesus stuff that the neocons tend to do, at least during campaign season anyway, what's more extreme about MAGA? Not wanting as many wars? Believing in basic populism, that is that the government is generally meant to represent the U.S. citizen public as opposed to globalizing everything? Less interventionism in your day-to-day lives? Respecting the Constitution and the right of people to bear arms, etc. Yeah, I don't agree with MAGA on abortion, but then the neocons have gone after that issue for decades too. I fail to see how there's any real differentiation. Hell, there are some Democrats that are not on board with the Northam-style abortion shtick. The Democrats overstretched on an issue that GOP tried to do what the GOP does best, and hand them victory, snatched it from the jaws of defeat. The Republicans are riding high. The Roe v. Wade issue comes through. Some Republicans are crapping their pants because they realize that some state-level Republicans and stuff will immediately cry bloody murder and say, yeah, it's time to ban abortion in the state. Several states effectively have. The Democrats then responded to this not by saying we fundamentally respect a woman's right to choose and you're being extreme because you're not even holding to the limitations under Dobbs or anything like that. You're outright banning abortion, sometimes even in the case of rape and incest. Instead, the Democrats said, hey, we want a national policy that is completely open-ended and fundamentally would legalize 9-month abortions nationwide. After complaining that the Republicans had spiked on the issue because they originally argued it was for states' rights mainly and then immediately pivoted to a federal platform. Which is true. It's a valid criticism. Republicans who said mistakes, all of a sudden became very, very federalistic when it came to the end of Roe v. Wade. But then the Democrats did the same fucking shit. The one major issue the Democrats could have capitalized upon, they threw out. They took a gift from the Republican Party, a golden goddamn gift. They took a crown and they tossed it in the gutter. So the Republicans went and grabbed it again. And now they're not letting go of it. You've only got a week till midterms. A little bit late now to convince voters by saying abortion. This article talks about, for instance, COVID hoaxterism. And the problem is, again, on this issue, the Democrats don't have a good platform. Why do you think they don't really bring it up? Blue state governors extended lockdowns well beyond the purview of where they should have done so, even under the most gregarious definition of public emergency. They extended it for months and months. Whitmer's in big trouble right now. They're calling it a McAuliffe moment, although I still think she has the advantage. Her new big thing, she claimed that schools in Michigan were only locked down for 3 months. In some cases, it was over a year. In some cases, there are partial lockdowns even now. She's been fact-checked even by the liberal media on this. Whoops, that could really hurt her in her race against Tudor Dixon. Yeah, the voters will regret it. I can guarantee you that this is just another preemptive coat post, much like with the inflation posting, to blame the GOP for the continuation of problems into next year and possibly beyond that are still not within their control. They won't control the presidency. Meanwhile, the Democrats will form a defensive perimeter, as they always do in such situations, and blame obstruction. The inflation would have gone away right now, but the GOP obstructed our new $1 trillion spending bill. The GOP strangulated the budget and cut a bunch of pork out of it, and this is why there aren't more jobs. Stagflation began because the Republicans came in. Yeah, we were blaming the Fed before and saying they were too hawkish on interest rate hikes, but now it's, trust us, it's the GOP in the House, because they have control of the purse strings, even if they don't have a filibuster-proof Senate majority, and even if they don't have the presidency. Yes, it's totally the Republicans' fault. This is a preemptive cope. It's sort of like the article we got last month, in which they were, I think it was Salon or Vox or one of those particular tabloid rags. Do you remember that article? I made a video on it at the time where they were talking about Stacey Abrams, and you could smell the fear. The whole article was basically, to sum it up, don't worry that she's going to get her shit handed to her by Kemp. She's not going to win. Look at all of the other things that she's doing. She's a foremost BLM activist. She's written several books. Oh my God, what an accomplished lady. The fact that she'll never be the governor of Georgia shouldn't bother you too much. Talk about writing somebody off. I'm surprised they haven't done a Cope article like that for Beto yet. Apparently they still believe for some odd reason that he has a chance. He's 10 fucking points behind Abbott. They're still doing the Crist shuffle. Charlie Crist is still pretending he's viable. DeSantis leads by more than 10 points now and keeps going up in the aggregate. Look at the congressional generic. The Democrats are hoping the Paul Pelosi attack lowers that threshold. I think it's too little too late. Look at the early results from Georgia with regards to youth voting statistics. The young people aren't turning out for the Dems at the numbers that they wanted. The TikTok crowd, believe it or not, the TikTok crowd is not enamored to neoliberal policies and doesn't think Biden's done enough. What this article should have addressed is the elephant in the room, which is, yes, the Democrats should have known better. They're trying to appease a bunch of fucking socialists, and young voters tend to be more fickle than older voters as well. Till they get elderly, then they become the ficklest of all. Of course, ornery old man, ornery old woman, someone like a Hillary Clinton. Fickle young voters want everything that they want. They think that it is a lapse of basic justice if they don't get everything that has been promised to them. So if you tease UBI, total student loan debt forgiveness, universal pre-K, and free shit to everyone, and trillions of dollars in green energy and stuff, and you water everything down or ignore it for the better part of the entire first 2 years of your term, it pisses them off. I know what it's like to be young. I'm not so old yet that I don't remember the fickleness of being in your early 20s and stuff like that. I'm thinking at the time, I'm fucking on Facebook, mid-2000s, running anti-war groups, and I think that anyone who's not offering me a complete and immediate withdrawal from Iraq and Afghanistan might cause World War III. Thankfully, it didn't happen, but it was a reasonable proposition, I think, at the time, one embraced by elements of MAGA now, by the way. But there's a fickleness there. The idea of, hey, we've scaled down the troop totals. Okay, wonderful. When are the rest coming home? That's what the 20-year-old voter thinks of. I'm not going to vote for the fucking Democrats. Why would you? They're not offering you a future. If anything, more and more of these young people, if they get a job at all, they have to go grocery shopping. They're saying, what the fuck is happening? Goddamn, I'm supposed to wake up one day when I'm 40 and say, get sticker shock. I'm not supposed to do that when I'm 21. Imagine Jimmy, he turns 21, he's going to buy his first beer, and he's like, oh, you know what, fuck this, it's just too expensive. Ends up getting a 40 of malt liquor. I don't know whether this dynamic will increase or decrease alcoholism, by the way. Nancy Pelosi is certainly, she props up the whole bar, so don't worry, liquor salesman. As long as Nancy Pelosi and Elizabeth Warren are still above ground, at least you'll always have some business. Apparently Paul Pelosi prefers going to the bar. Probably to get away from his wife. But you'll regret it, though, voters. If you vote for the GOP, things will get bad. But they're already bad. They're already moving in a bad direction. You've already got rampant disinformation. Most of it comes from the goddamn Biden administration. You've already got conspiracy theories being peddled by the legacy media. You've got economic dysfunction, multiple war fronts. What can possibly get worse unless you have a goddamn atomic war? They'd probably blame that on them too. The bombs are literally in the air. The very last CNN report of all of mankind's history before their headquarters is turned into a pile of ash saying this is Trump's fault. Probably be the last thing that you goddamn hear. That's about all. Peace out.